You're watching a Zero Dark Network production. All right, you're watching the pre-show. About to go live at 3 a.m. on Friday, January the 12th. So welcome if you're tuned in now. And it is early. We're here from Houston, Texas, live. This is the 7th episode. And looking forward to what we're going to talk about today. Hope your week has gone great, and looking forward to an awesome weekend. And hopefully you're starting to make some progress in your year as we plan for a wonderful, hopefully, to 2024. More in 2024 has been said. Please comment, share. It's an open discussion. It is recorded for later for review. People can make comments, share the links, and review what we go over each Friday. Limit this to about an hour and appreciate your attention. So at this time of the morning, we're catching the late owls, night owls, and the early risers, really early risers. The link is zerodarknetwork.com. And we have a lot of resources there. We've gone over what this idea is all about, and you can go back and past episodes. But a quick brief is it's Zero Dark. It's a new concept. Your future is worth rising early, and over the years, there's been discussions about the benefits of an early rise and looking at whatever that time might be for you. For me, I decided that a 2:30 wake up. Actually, I've just adjusted it from 2:45 to 2:30. Realizing that extra 15 minutes really did make a huge difference in the momentum that I wanted to achieve in the day. And so there's a video at Zero Dark Network you can watch. It's called the 2:30 Wake Up. And, I moved my wake up from 4 a.m. Starting last year to 2:45, and then had been working on that model, adjusting it, sharing it with folks in my circle. And of course, I get a lot of feedback. I'll talk about that here in a few. But when I shared the 2:30 video with one of my business partners and friends, he was motivated to adjust his clock to 2:30. And I was in agreement. I said, you're right, because the 2:45 was great, but I always felt like I was behind the 8 ball. I wasn't quite in sync with where I needed to be at. And that extra 15 minutes is just helping me to adjust and really get ready for the 3 a.m., like where we're at right now. And so as part of some of the discussions I'll have to share with you today is just, some of the feedback, but also some of the benefits of deciding for yourself, deciding that you want to make adjustments and then ever improvement in every area, right? So I'm going to go over some things that I'm looking at, books that I'm reading, and I think last time we did some training, so I'm not sure what kind of trainings we're going to do today, but just in my camera angle is a little bit different. Get some feedback from my friend Asa, who is a audio video pro, and he was wanting me to adjust my camera so it's more eye level. And of course, I'm in my home office here in Houston, Texas. We're preparing for an Arctic freeze this, I guess, Monday or Tuesday. So getting our pipes ready and our supplies ready. And just hunkering down, so to speak. So hopefully it won't get as cold as it did a couple of years ago. And that was kind of brutal, but here across the nation, if you will. So let's go ahead and open up in prayer. Thank you. You're watching Zero Dark Network Live. It's a concept I started here with my friend Asa about 4 months ago. And as we continue to develop, there's opportunities we're seeing to scale this thing and bring it to various platforms. This one just happens to be live. Our Tuesdays are more in person, and then our Changing Saturdays is another dynamic. All this has been talked about in our previous episodes, and you can go to our website for more content, which we'll be adding, zerodarknetwork.com. But anyway, thank you, Lord, for this day, this Friday, an opportunity to rise early and embrace the day, and to invite other people, Father, to explore their journey, to embrace what you're sharing in these times through other people, other people's experiences, other people's readings, other people's practices. And so as I go into this episode as an audience of one, or hopefully we have some people that join us, we'll have a conversation and have a good time. So thank you, Lord, for this opportunity just to be able to do this on a Friday, to wrap up the week and to plan for the future. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. So I always start things in prayer. A lot of times, we make decisions to do things. And I was talking to a friend of mine about this, and we didn't really pray about it, so we get committed to something and come to find out, wow, that was a dead end. And so a lot of times, it's good to be cautious, or at least to think through things before you accept. I was at a luncheon the other day, and I'm going to be volunteering on a project, and the question was asked, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'm new here, so let me assess what you guys are working on, and then from there, let me figure out how I can help bring value to what you're doing. But the other question I had was, what do you want me to do, right? So instead of going in blindly and spouting off on things that I could do for the project to help them to advance, I'd rather scale back to find out what's needed, what are the objectives, what are the goals, what kind of resources team-wise can we leverage from. So that's all for me part of the research, right? And so just experience, right? And so, but prayer does work. Prayer opens up thought processes. It opens up, considerations, and you get ideas a lot of times that you wouldn't have gotten had you just not stopped to think and just acknowledge, the creator of the universe is what, some people call the universe, but I call it Jesus Christ, right? So whatever works for you. And this is open dialogue. You don't have to be a Christian to be a part, even though we do open in prayer. So I appreciate that. Your feedback, your input from there. So today is Friday, as I mentioned before, we went live, and it's an exciting part, and it's an exciting time of the week. You'll notice that my share screen, I have a concert experience, so that's kind of the vibe and the spirit and the essence of this Friday live is just, it's not over. The weekend is here, but I don't necessarily live for the weekend, although it's part of the week, right? So enjoy transitioning over to, hey, what did I accomplish this week? What am I looking forward towards this weekend, where it's a time where we spend more time with our family, or, a little bit more reading maybe, or activities that we're going to be doing. So looking forward to hanging out with my wife this afternoon, and this is kind of like a little for us, a little time to live the dream, if you will. I do have an update on my dream board. I think we talked about that in the last episode. And so I've been having some conversations, and people have talked about dream boards before, but again, a lot of times it's failure to implement. So there's a lot of things that we want to do, that we should do, that we haven't really thought about. But by engaging in a community of other like-minded folks, then you kind of, I would say, hold each other accountable. But because it's refreshing you, then it becomes an action item, right? So people are starting to say, hey, yeah, let me go ahead and get mine started. And people do what humans do what humans see, I think is what Howard Partridge said. I've been mentioning taking some training with him through other business programs they have. And, so a lot of times you have to model and demonstrate for others because, you do care about your people that are in your circle, and none of us are better than the other, but we are learning from each other. And when you have that environment of grace and mercy, then you get through all the obstacles that prevent progress, I would say. So I'm so thankful to have you watching, have different medias, different platforms, and Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, etc. And then of course live events here in Houston, networking events. In fact, every second Thursday, I participate with Network in Action Veterans Business Force with my friend Kathy Bowersox, and she's a co-host with me on Million Veteran Millionaires, which I'll talk about today as well. I think let me go ahead and make my notes here because I usually make a note before I get started with this, so we can have some semblance of progress on what we're going to talk about, right? So Network in Action, just to give a quick brief, is a international franchise based with technology and meetups and trainings. And so Kathy and I have been working to develop Veterans Business Force. And that's a conversation that I guess I'm inclined to. I'm really wired for entrepreneurship and in learning myself and helping others and to advance their vision in business. But your vision is also part of your business is part of your life, right? It is your life. So in the key areas that we are focusing on is health, wealth, love, and happiness. And I got that focus from Ty Lopez's training. And someone posted on Facebook the other day is what is happiness to you? I think it was my friend Tiffany Reynolds. She's a real estate agent here in Houston. I think it's Keller Williams that she's with. But I posted love, health, wealth, and happiness, right? So what does success look like to you, right? And there's all kinds of books out there that have different areas that you can improve in, but we're complex beings, but we don't want to get over complex, right? So that was really a simple model for me to understand health, wealth, love, and happiness, right? So as we make plans through the year, for example, one of the trainings I had is, as in your health area is knowing your stats, right? Knowing your cholesterol, your heartbeat, your blood pressure, those things that are important to know about. So my wife actually scheduled me for a annual checkup here, and knowing about this year, being mindful of that, I'm going to be more intent on monitoring, my levels. And there's nothing to say you have to have just one checkup a year. You can actually have multiple checkups. And so some of my athlete friends, they do, 2 or 3 checkups a year, right? So just thinking about taking care of your health, because that is what's going to drive the rest of your life, right? And you can wear yourself out and then not be healthy enough to lead your company, to lead your family and your friends, or let's not say lead, but be available, be energized, be relevant, be in your zone, so to speak. So take care of our health in 24. So time to get back to the gym, time to rehash or relook at your goals for your fitness. And so as part of the training we did at Network in Action yesterday, we just revisited goals in certain areas of our life, right? And defining what is a goal versus what is a habit. So that was one of the things I don't say struggling with, but trying to get clarity on. So she asked me, like, okay, what's one of your health goals? And I said, well, to drink 8 16-ounce bottles of water a day, to go to the gym 2 hours a day. And she said, well, that's not a goal, that's an activity. And so I said, okay, well, knowing my metrics and all that. So putting it on paper, I said, well, maybe do I add up the time for the year and say, hey, I want to do X number of hours, in the gym for the year as a total, and that'd be my goal. And each day that I do something, so she goes, yeah, that's more in line with like setting up like strategic objectives, if you will. So, but it's part of my daily habits, right? So I'm continuing to put that on the agenda. So one of the first things I do, for example, in the morning is I put 8 bottles of water on my counter in the kitchen as my reminder that, hey, I need to continue to drink water. Now, the challenge for me is I may do that, but then I don't drink my water. So I try to tweak my adjustments. Okay, what's going to make me more motivated to like drink my water, right? So that may be that I put some kind of reward, like, let's say, hey, it's this morning, 7 o'clock, I drink a water. Maybe at 8 o'clock, I drink a water, but I have to like build in a reward system. Like, hey, I get to drink a bottle of water, right? So that's kind of the process I go through with everything that I put in my schedule. And that's the key thing is after reading The One Thing by Gary Keller, that was one of the profound books that I read last year, 2022. After reading, 115 books. Of course, people freak out. 115 books. I said, well, I have a Bible app, and that's 66 books or 66 books in the Bible. So less that is the books that I read, and I just stack them in my hallway here. Actually, I just stack it as I read it, and as the year progresses, I can see the stack go rising, right? But the one thing with Gary Keller really emphasized, and I share this with people when we talked about, like, what was one of your favorite books, And they said, oh, I've got that book. And of course, the challenge that I've seen, I'm preaching to myself again on a lot of this stuff, is, people don't read their books, right? You have the book, but we don't read it. So failure to implement is what Howard Partridge says. I'm going to go stop my share screen here for a second. Oh, I did post on Facebook the live, and it is on the website as well for, so here. So if you go to the website, there's the link to the Zoom right here. You can cut and paste that, and there's no password, so you can just log in. You're welcome to share. And I was doing this on Facebook Live, but I just didn't have the interactivity of what Zoom is allowing me to do. And probably need to set this up as a webinar type platform. Right now, it's an open platform. I haven't really looked at the functionality of the webinar resource because there's a function. I guess there's a toggle button when you set up a meeting to do a webinar. Let's take a look at that real fast. So you can set it up to do your meetings on the webinar function. So I'll take a look at that later. So we've been making use of Zoom because it saves time. Another thing that as we're talking about this stuff is, maximizing our time, because it is a limited resource, right? So a lot of times, rather than commit to a meeting across town, which is a lot of times people are doing routines just because that's the way they've always done it. And then, of course, I understand, people, some people are more face to face. They say, as they want to be more face to face with people. That's old school, which I'm fine with. A lot of times I say yes, but at the same token, time is valuable, right? So you may start off with a phone call or Zoom call, and then find a reason to meet, right? Or it may happen that you're at an event somewhere, and that may be a mutually beneficial place. Thank you, Mike Martin, for recommending the word mutually beneficial. He's my sales consultant friend, and we're working together to carve out a niche in sales and marketing, and coming up with action words that kind of open up the dialogue, right? So we're going to explore this together. Like, that's another sales tactic or sales strategy to get collaboration discussions going. Drink some coffee real quick. So you'll see on my set that I have some new additions over to the left of my shoulder. Your right, I guess, if this is doing right, is I got my AR-15 in the back. I'm a proponent of the Second Amendment, your right to self-defense, and also be, a good guy with a gun in your community, right? Then I got over my right shoulder, the boss is watching. So that was a good gift given to me by my friend Travis Middleton from the UK. I think he went to visit. He said, hey, I think Andy would like this. So got that in my office. We're getting ready to talk and head into the presidential races here. And of course, a lot of times in the times past, it's been taboo to talk politics, business, or religion or whatever. But you know what? If Trump can do it, I can do it, right? And it's a time where we need to have good discussions and frank discussions about issues that matter to us, right? So as a conservative Christian, entrepreneur, capitalist, family man, these are topics that I've made known, for a while. In fact, I'm writing a book called The Marketing of Good, How Marketers and Influencers Can Disrupt Evil Agendas. And so I recommend or, would encourage you or invite you, and would love it if you would go to my website, themarketingofgood.com, to check out what that's all about. And so the book is really kind of a primer for those that are kind of waking up to the culture war that's currently happening in our country. And a lot of it, like the border crisis, that's something that we need to concern ourselves about and be aware of. I've actually been down to the border to see firsthand. It's one thing to kind of be passive in this time. That's another to actually go see for yourself. And so anyway, the book of themarketingofgood.com is kind of a primer on a variety of subjects where I've been involved in helping with marketing, either in the media or with presence or with influence or with content creation to bring attention to the issues that I, as a, as best I can, understand the situation to at least help people to discover and realize that, some of these things you can actually change, you can push back on. So the marketing of good, right now, my endorsements are coming in. So I've got 6 of them on the website now. These are people that I have met on the journey and have gotten to know, befriended. And of course, leadership is influence. That's John Maxwell. I don't know. He probably has written that in a bunch of books of his, but his basic premise is, everyone has leadership, either good or bad, right? And influence is getting people to want to align with you, or they can help you, and they're willing to do it because they know you, they love you, and they trust you, right? So that's always been a mantra within all of the self-help books and business books. It takes people to accomplish missions, right? I think I mentioned in previous episodes that we've heard teamwork makes the dream work, and that's John Maxwell's contribution. And Howard Partridge says that the dream makes the team work, right? And so as we start to evaluate the different groups we're going to connect with this year, because there's all kinds of networking groups. There's for every interest level, I guess. There's Rotaries, there's veterans groups, there's networking groups, and there's Facebook groups and all that. So the idea is learning best practices when you participate in these things, and usually the objective is to learn, to be in a learning mode. There to learn about what other people are doing. So then you become more of a resource, right? You're positioning yourself as a resource as opposed to I'm looking for help, and you're making the attention more about how can you help me, right? So that's a mindset change. And there's a lot of books on networking, how to do it right, and all that. And we'll be sharing some of that stuff here at the website at Zero Dark Network. So let me see here. I got my notes. So my book, The Marketing of Good, I do have the first chapter to kind of explain why I'm writing the book and give a little reference as to how that could help you in any way, as just a primer. And again, when you write a book, my friend Eddie Smith, he said 87% of us out there have a book in us, and we want to write it. We talk about writing it, but only 3% actually do it, right? Failure to implement. So as you make plans, I'd love to hear your ideas of something you started and you implemented, maybe methods that you use to keep yourself up to date. Like, a lot of times I'll have notepads and write down things, and by that activity, wind up, getting it done, right? So that's going to be another theme here. What else can we talk? So back to back to Network in Action. So that group, that technology platform is, we go to a website, we can make posts, we can share videos, we can share events, we can actually write articles. There's also training there as well. And then we do meet at high-end venues to dialogue and have some training, networking as well. And it's little communities. But we started Better Business Force, and that started the conversation about the entrepreneur community here in Houston. And I say it's going atomic now, because there is a Houston Veterans Chamber now that's gotten the attention of not just the local municipalities and business community, but also the county and the state. And so now I think they have 350 members of active veteran businesses that are working together to thrive and survive and to just grow our influence in the community, right? And so that's when again, from that, we started the A Million Veteran Millionaires. So I do want to make reference to that. In fact, let me go to the website. I'll do another share screen while we're here, since we have some time. And I kind of got my screens adjusted, so I'm trying to. There we go, back to here. Share sound. A million veteran millionaires. So this is what I call a big, hairy, audacious goal, right? Is to grow a community of, and you don't have to be a veteran to participate in this. I call it, you have to have something that's going to get people's attention. So we have patriot companies and individuals that are interested in supporting this, but this is a concept I started, I want to say about a year and a half ago. And 2022, so 2022, 2023, I've been adding to the pages of content. There's for example, I made mention of resources. So if you go to, I think, seminars, this is a good refresher for me. We have access to the NIA University, right? So it's a building $1 million business. This is a $6,000 value they normally charge for, and I don't know how long they're going to keep it free. But while they have it free, you can go to this link right here, use this temporary login, and you have access to all the different modules that can help you in your business, right? So at the seminars page, I have links to some of the trainings that I've taken. And so as I'm learning this stuff, just making it available for others, if they're on their journey and they want to shortcut that journey, not say shortcut it, but why do something for years and find out like, well, I could have done this and then save time, right? Or increase my the success rate in whatever activities I'm working on, right? So I've been taking the Ty Lopez programs. I've done the Billie Jean with artificial intelligence. Grant Cardone had a business plan training that my friend Asa and I are going to go through, and he's got some resources with Grant already. And then I'd also taken one of his 5-day trainings that he did. Tony Robbins had one as well. And of course, they're all, I don't say all, but they all, I use the word all a lot, but anyway, they're set up to help, help people with their frame of reference, their ways of doing it. And of course, you can learn different things. So each one is unique, and they're doing some things differently that maybe others are. Like again, I had mentioned Billie Jean was doing the artificial intelligence, so he's like a trend spotter, right? So he was on Facebook way before a lot of people were using Facebook, and that's kind of how he got his start. Of course, Grant Cardone's doing real estate deals and maybe other business deals. Ty Lopez is a senior serial entrepreneur, and so more of a bookworm type bibliophile, I should say. And then Zig Ziglar, who passed away in 2012, but he's still got resources that we could take advantage of. And his son, Tom Ziglar, is continuing the mission. Sandra Sumter took her training. And just from her training, I was able to implement some things that actually, again, the goal is revenue generating activity, but also balanced life. So there's some good takeaways from each one of these that I've implemented to actually generate revenue with, right? And then Dan Pena, the $1 trillion man, he's at a high caliber of his mentees are doing acquisitions, they're buying companies, right? And at his level, it's you're using his brand, like you're coming in as a Dan Pena mentee to the table, and he's teaching his mentees how to basically operate in a narrow, I call it eagle space, right? You're dealing with banks and CPAs or firms, and then getting them to take you seriously because of the power of what he's teaching. And these are like mega deals they're doing, right? These super, $10 million, $100 million deals, $1 billion deals that they're operating in. So I don't know if I'd ever become a billionaire, but I'm not limiting it, right? So just with the thinking and the mentorship, it's possible. So it's just all about mindset, right? Like, what do you want to change? This is your only life, right? And we can blow it off, or we can say, hey, let's be a little bit more serious about what I want my future to look like. And so yesterday's gone. Yesterday was an awesome day. Today is going to be awesome come what may. I mean, there could be some disastrous things that could happen, but that's life, right? And tomorrow may never come. So I think my dad, I think I quoted him in my book, he says you never know when it's going to be your time. And he passed away 21 years ago when he was 56 years old. So that always stuck with me. He did leave me some pearls of wisdom, that I operate with today. Hardworking, being a man of your word, all that kind of stuff. So I've joined Howard Partridge's community, and so every Tuesday. We do a live Zoom call like this at 1:30, but he has some pretty intense programs that, are high value, and you're in that community, right? So what his mission has been so far is systems, based on some of the Zig Ziglar principles of leadership, but more so probably from the E-Myth, but also branding and marketing with like Donald Miller story brand. But I've got a book here. Stop sharing screen in a second, but I'll share the books later. But his programs are about developing systems, right? So the purpose of the business is to have your business generate it's a vehicle for your life goals, right? You're living freedom every day. And so before you start a business, really should think about your why and what is the lifestyle you want, and then seeing if that business will give you that, right? Or finding that business that will give you that. So there's just a lot of these resources that help, again, save you time, increase your momentum, and also what the maximum, benefit to your life that you want, right? So that's the purpose of what we're all about here. And then we had Josh Tolley on. I actually had him on. I've actually had Howard on our Zoom, A Million Better Millionaires, and Josh Tolley. So it's interesting that as you're in this space, you actually get to meet these people. And that's one of my dreams and on my vision board, if you will, as well, is to be able to hang out with these people in the future. I mean, just to be able to be in their circle. And, it's been said that you can project someone's income based on the circle of influences that they have, the people that they're hanging around with. And so you want to increase, your value with your network, but then you'll find you'll start to elevate. That's what I'm seeing, right? So anyway, Josh Tolley's in our circle of conversation, if you will, but he teaches on acquisition of wealth, buying companies. And his advice is like, don't go start a business, go buy a business, right? Cut through the chase. Why go through all the headaches of starting up a company that's, the failure rate's it's incredible, right? Not amazing, but it's incredible and amazing, I guess, the failure rate of starting a business. But, the business that's bought is one that's already been set up. It's already been researched. It's got its legal stuff. It's got its finances, its people, and as an entrepreneur, by knowing how to buy a business, which is what he teaches, then you can have multiple businesses that you own, and you just operate as an entrepreneur, meaning that you are out there networking and or making deals that you bring back to the company, but the company's already running, and you're just overseeing the success of it, right? So at the homepage, I'll go ahead and play this commercial. Okay, I'm going to redo this commercial for this year, but right now this is a commercial I wrote when we first got started. It was kind of to plant the seed of the vision of this thing. And thankfully, I've got a friend of mine that's going to help me. He's a TV producer type guy, and he is a veteran as well. And so by having this stuff started, and of course, I'm not a video guy, I'm a marketing guy, but over the years, I've had to learn how to do videos, and I've had to learn how to do websites. In fact, here's some of our guests that are coming up. I'm actually working on one for the 23rd. I had a cancellation or reschedule for one of my guests. So I do have someone I'm going to bring in on the 23rd. But on the 27th of February, we've got attorney Manfred Sternberg, business law. I call him America's lawyer. He's just so brilliant and sharp, Tulane grad, and he's always been an ally and friend to me. And he has an amazing story himself, but he's not a veteran, but he's going to help give some practical advice on things that you need to be aware of as a business owner, right? Copyrights, forming your company, trademarks, other opportunities, protecting yourself and risk, from lawsuits, all that kind of stuff, right? So one of our mantras in the marketing world for my company is we help keep you out of court. And so one of my friends said, how do you do that? And I said, well, just being mindful that there are litigious industries, there's copyrights that you need to be concerned about, best practices, that, you just need to consider on the marketing side, right? And you don't want to be sued, right? So thankfully, you knock on wood, I've never sued anybody, never had to sue anyone, right? In March, we have veteran Chad Neller, serial entrepreneur veteran as well. He wrote a book called Finding Happy, which I read last year, and I'm going to recommend that book, so I'll bring that back. I got to meet him in person, actually. Joseph Frankie, he's a veteran colonel, West Point grad, and he's a LinkedIn expert. He's written a book on how to use LinkedIn to advance your career and your business. Then we've got veteran Murad Fiki. He's a $1 million agent here in Houston, who I've met as well. I haven't met Joseph, but looking forward to meeting him. And then in June, we have Paul Kurt, CPA of Kurt and Associates, and he's going to help us talk about, just keeping accounting and keeping clear of the IRS, right? Or at least being able to, have your books adjusted and correct and all that kind of stuff, right? So, of course, we hear horror stories of what happens if you don't have that done, right? So I'll go ahead and play the little commercial here for your listening to watching enjoyment.
What would happen if you started or took your business to $1 million, $2 million, or $5 million in annual revenue? What would that mean to you personally, your family, community, and your network? It can happen. A Million Veteran Millionaires is a mindset engineering Zoom call platform created to rally and gather veteran startups or veteran-owned businesses who want to work together to help each other succeed. We will first focus on changing mindsets that keep you back and go through a process called mindset engineering to take steps to achieving success. We will feature other successful business owners who are leading the way, who are supporting this mission. We are limited to 100 attendees initially. The cost is free to attend. If you would like to know more, please visit amillionveteranmillionaires.com. You deserve to have a successful business, and we want to help you. Change your mindset, change your future.
Okay, so that's a Million Veteran Millionaires. And again, you can go to millionveteranmillionaires.com. You can join this community as well, so you don't have to be a veteran. But I've got affiliate programs, you got seminars, books that we've already featured, past guests. Just a quick look at last year, since we're doing a year in review at this time. So these are all the guests that we had in 2023, and each link, again, you have access to this training course with Network in Action. Kathy and I did an interview with Harlan Pickett last year on KSCB Radio, where we got to talk about what we're doing in the veteran community. So that interview is available there for your review. Then we've got our merchandising, so it's all marketing, right? And so as you think about your brands, your merchandising, your videos, your productions, that all kind of leave a crumb trail for others to detect. So this stuff it's content, but it's advertising, it's promotions, it's sales. So as you leave these resources out there for your audiences, it's working while you're sleeping, right? So this is already done. It's an investment. I forget how much, all this is done. I'm saying it's about 150 grand and more, because, guest relations, the recordings, the outputs and all that. So that's what I got invested in this platform, the logo creation, the mindset, branding, all that. But it's to help people, right? So that's the vision of it, is like, hey, how can I grow and encircle myself with other like-minded leaders, right? And so when you start something new, at first it's in your brain, it's in your mind. So that's kind of using this awesome little picture here, because you are going to attract the bright minds, right? The dream makes the team work, right? So the dream is to build this community, which right now it's free to join, right? And at some point there's going to be some monetization, because I do see a day where we will dispatch film crews to go do a profile on businesses, right? What are you doing? And let's follow you for the day. Let's do, radio shows, other podcasts that can kind of stem from this, right? Past guests, let's see here. We've had Akshay Nanavati, Machine Gun Preacher, Frank McKinney, Kathy Bowersox, myself, a guest on my own platform. We had Ruben Gonzalez, Oz Geis, 13 Hours. Bill Nash, actually got to see Bill Nash last night at the Katy Christian Chamber book signing for Stan Goss, and he's been a longtime friend. Talked to Scott Mendez today. He's a world champion bull rider. Again, we mentioned Josh Tolley. We had Howard Partridge on this year, and my friend Eddie Smith. So all these interviews are archived. And so we have a YouTube channel, which you can go to, I think, at the social media links here at the top of the page or at the bottom of the page. But I noticed it's not at the top, so I got to go back and fix that. have Ruben Gonzalez. We've had Oz. Man, what, it was an awesome year. Bill Nash. He has a book out. It's Saint Singer Saint or Sinner or something like that to the name of the book, but it's about his work in Nashville. So awesome interview. He's got his fingerprints in a lot of music out there with Reba McEntire, Dolly Parton, some of the big names and the people that played on his music scenes, played for some of the greats. I did a kind of a year review, kind of a recap. And that was back in June. Like, where are we going? So just a reassessment of this thing that we built or building. Archive podcast from my company, Market Dynamics. It's kind of a free resource on marketing. We had Josh Tolley, and then Howard Partridge. Eddie Smith was the last interview, I think, of the year. So we're looking forward to this 2024 and building on previous work. And I think I have that's all to share for today on that. All right, so we're back to the main event, so to speak. So thank you for at least following me on this. And again, this show, what do we call it? Podcast show, vlog, vodcast. In fact, I was talking to my friend Tina Lockhart. She is with the Marine Corps League here in Houston at the state level, though. She's representing at the state. I'm on her advisory team. But yesterday we were able to attend the HMAC luncheon, the Houston Military Affairs Council, where all the different leaders from the military organizations here in Houston come together to plan how they serve the veteran community. But I was telling her, that we were working on a podcast with Salem Broadcasting here in Houston called Scuttlebutt, and Veteran Empowerment, I think is the name of the show. And so right now it doesn't have a video component to it, although while you're going to the studio, it makes sense to go ahead and record it, right? So, and I told her about the term vodcast. She goes, I've seen that before. What does that mean? It's what's a video podcast, right? So that people have used blog for video blogs, right? So what I've learned, is people watch, they hear, or they read, right? So you got your different ways, different mediums to reach your audiences. Like my buddy Asa, he loves to listen to books, but while he's listening, he's doing projects, right? And for me, what I've learned is I got to just pay attention to what I'm focusing on. And I like music in the background, and I can do some of that. Like when I go to the gym, I can put on a training. But for the most part, I like to sit down and actually pay attention to what I'm doing. But you make use of your time, right? So again, learning from other people, I said, well, let me try that. Don't just rule it out. Just like the Zero Dark Network, as I'm socializing with people, people like myself, a lot of times, like we can't change the world, but we can change ourselves. And by changing ourselves, then we're like, you know what, I tried this, and at least having the what do you call it? I won't say courage, but the permission, let's say, to share, right? And that's kind of some people won't share, and as a result, you may not detect, you may not, I use that word detect, but you may not, learn like, hey, maybe I need to consider this. So I am learning to share more, right? And of course, I don't want to be, as I'm evaluating my approach, I don't want to be the guy that's, always trying to give advice to people, but I do want to give it, share what I'm finding with people that I care about, right? And so as I'm socializing this idea of like, an early rise. I'm talking early, out of the box early rise. And that's also a differentiator that I'm finding, because so few people are doing this, It's like going to the gym. Who wants to be a bodybuilder, right? Well, bodybuilders do. People that want to concentrate their focus. I think my daughter posted something on Facebook that talent is basically concentrated focus. So by concentrating on something that matters to you, you're going to see exponential improvement, because we can't do everything, right? So we have to focus on, okay, where can I focus? And then by focusing, you're going to have extraordinary results. So given the results that I want in the areas of health, wealth, love, and happiness, I decided that, I want to get up earlier, so that way I am doing as much as I can, not overworking myself, right? So I'm energized all day long. So what I tell people is just my time zone has changed, right? 2:30 to 7, 8 o'clock. Went to bed a little bit later last night. And I was kind of like, man, am I going to be tired because I only had 6 hours of sleep, right? But in reality, 2:30 popped up, and I was like, hey, I feel energized, I feel recharged. So I'm getting really deeper sleep, right? Because there are studies out there talk about all different things about sleep and how much sleep you need. Um, but again, listening to your body on some of this stuff, right? So as I'm getting more acclimated now, this is my fifth month into the now, actually a couple of weeks into the 2:30, but my fifth month into the 2:45. I'm thankful to Asa, my friend Asa, that he was motivated to at least to meet up with me at 3 in the morning at Denny's, and that's what kind of got this thing started, as I mentioned in previous podcasts. But even as he's adjusting, he's the one that inspired me to 2:30. But even as he's adjusting to it, we continue to at least have permission to share ideas. And it's more of a collaboration, a friendship now, as opposed to we don't know each other, and I'm not sure if I like you. That's kind of the dynamic that you can have with people that you are building relationships with, that know you, that trust you, that love you. Those are the types of people you want in your inner circle, right? And it takes time to get to that level because people have baggage, things in their past, things that cause them concern. And so what as leaders, I'm reading a book. In fact, now we'll get to the book sharing. My friend Deb Bordeser gave me this book. Actually gave me a bunch of books to give to my daughter. Even she's studying forensics, and I mentioned Kenna. She's at A&M right now, and so she's was a former crime expert, and so she had accumulated a bunch of books, medical examiner type books for crimes. But anyway, so there were some books from Dad, but one that I'm reading now that got the attention of my oldest daughter is the Tao of Leadership, the Tao Te Ching, basically profile break, and it's really a simple book that has some simple ideas. That you can't read that stuff, but it's just one pagers, things that I don't know if I can stop moving, you can probably see it better, but gives you ideas on leadership, things that as leaders, we need to be mindful of, right? Because, people are people, right? And if you're going to be a leader, then you really want to be the best leader you can be. And so I'll just give you an example. I snapped at one of my guys actually for really no reason. I just didn't like I was trying to communicate an idea, and he was kind of resisting it a little bit, because I shared with him a video that he needed to watch because he's working on a thing that he, didn't know about. It's a new discovery that one of my law friends was shared a video on, and I said, "Man, you need to know about this," and he didn't pay attention to it. So I'm like, "Okay, why? When I send you something, it's important, And so that's the grace and mercy we have. It's like people get bombarded with text and emails, and so. In our level of leadership, when I respond to people, that send me stuff, and and of course I'm guilty sometimes of no, and it's my fault when I don't do that, right? So I don't blame anybody, but at the same token, it's I'm not sending this stuff for my health, And so I kind of I kind of snapped at him, and I said, wait a minute, that's not a good leader, right? So I called him. I said, look, I texted him actually. I said, hey, man, I apologize for snapping at you. I said, and we're all good because we have history. So thankfully, we do have that grace and mercy because that could blow out a relationship fast, right? And you never can fix that, right? But thankfully, we have history. And so he knows my heart. I know his heart, and he's under pressure. So I totally understand that. So later on, we talk. I said, look, I apologize to you, man. And I didn't mean to come off to you like that. And he goes, man, if there's anything worth apologizing, you're forgiven. But he had already forgotten about it, But as a leader, I wanted him to know how much I valued him, and that I was man enough to say, hey, I was wrong. And so a lot of times, people won't admit they're wrong, And I tell people, I say, hey, I want to know if I'm wrong on something, And even with my buddy in the background, Mr. Trump, right now he's embroiled and stuff, and I'm supporting him because I just think that there's a lot of things that are coming his way that they just don't like him, and that's not a reason not to hear him, right? And so I'm like, okay, he's got something to say, and look at what's going on in our country, and and why are they going after him so hard? Because he was effective, right? And so we want to stay out of wars. We need to deal with the border. We need to advance in capitalism and entrepreneurship and all that, set people free, not enslave them with government programs and all these things that are set to do not open up the dialogue on what does it take to be a success. Well, it's hard work. I mean, it really is. And hard work is fun, really. if you're working on the right thing, like you're working on your future, and unfortunately, only 1% or 2% of the world has actually waking up to say, hey, I can change my future. Hey, I can have opportunity. And that's not being taught, in the schools. It's not being taught anywhere. And of course, that's where these mentors are charging for what they do. Because think about it. They can't talk to everybody. So they have to have systems, programs to be able to say, look, if you want my personal attention, then I really have to charge for that time because it's lost opportunity for me, right? So they're human as well. So I don't mind helping people, right? So you don't mind helping people, but at the same token, if I'm out helping everybody, I don't have time to help me, then I'm going to crash and burn, right? So I'm really intentional about my structure of my day, and I'll go over that. And again, I learned it from the one thing by Gary Keller. I just revamped my whole schedule, so it's I don't say it's strict, but it has a flow to it from the time I wake up to kind of the time I go to sleep. Now I'm not 100% on it, so that's the challenge. And I forget where I read this. I think it's How to Own Your Mind. What you do. What was the video? I was watching John Wick 4. There was a statement that says, and these were the tyrants saying this, but it's actually a proven thing that you can learn from tyrants, right? But the guy mentored him said, how you do everything is how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? So the thing that you're working on, if you're not doing it to excellence, then in essence, I'm preaching to myself on this. So as I'm sharing this, and that's why I'm doing this platform too, is as I'm sharing this, you ever heard the saying that the teachers learn from the students, right? So as I'm sharing this, I'm learning to get more committed to that structure, right? So how you do anything is how you do everything, right? So take time, focus. For example, I had a group at my house here we did a 5-hour brainstorm for Saturday Menudo Club. It's one of my ventures that we're going to turn into a business that we want to scale to $1 million business. But we had lunch catered, and of course we used the dishes here and all that. So I made mention that since I'm up at 2:30, I wind up doing the dishes, because it only takes me 5 minutes to stack the dishwasher. So a lot of times, the drudgery of dishwashing, right? But that's because of the mindset. Well, in reality, it takes 5 minutes to do it. So all I did is for 5 minutes while the coffee's going, put them in the dishwasher, right? And turn it on and forget about it, right? So these daily disciplines, right? So I'll share my schedule one day, but ultimately from 2:45 to 7 or 8, there's things that I want to do, need to do. And as I'm talking about it, I'm thinking about, the drinking of 8 16-ounce waters, going to the gym 2 hours, reading, for a devotion for 30 minutes, an hour of reading, an hour of training, all those things that need to kind of flow, but sometimes things pop up, right? So the schedule's not so rigid that I'm going to, miss an opportunity to adjust, right? So with that being said, let me go ahead and go over some of the books. I'm not sure if I've gone over all of these, but one that I'm reading over and over again, this one's called God's Creative Power by Mr. Charles Capps, I think is his name. Yeah, Charles Capps. So when I read this little book, it was life-changing. I'm not going to go through all the content here, but it's really making use of Bible verses that can help you in life and in your business. And so this guy was almost in bankruptcy. He may have gone through bankruptcy, but he was a farmer, and he just had dismal failure in every area of life. And then a gentleman shared with him a book like this, and his son, who wrote the foreword, testify as to what happened. Like all of a sudden, these debts were paid, and miracles started to happen. And now this guy shared. He's dead now, but this has helped millions of people. And so once I read this, I was like, you know what? This is one of those books that I'm going to set aside, and I'm going to continue to read. Of course, as I'm reading Napoleon Hill's books, because he was an author back in the 40s, I guess. This book, 40 Powerful Spiritual Phrases That Can Change the Quality of Your Life by Norman Vincent Peale. So these are all the Bible verses that he referenced in his books in a condensed version. So it's an easy to read book, but I'm reading it daily, right? And so right now I'm almost halfway through. And so what I'm doing is also transcribing those verses onto index cards that I can read. So I'll do this today, but my wife and I, when I pick her up downtown, is we'll read these to each other, right? So these are just reminders of and refreshments that, these are proven statements. Like we like to quote famous people, right? These are famous quotes from the Bible, right? That have actually helped people to overcome adversity, right? So you have two minds. You have the natural mind, which is not spiritual. Then you have a spiritual mind, which is mindset, that is supernatural, right? So there's that struggle between natural and supernatural, right? So the 1%, 2% that are operating basically in an extraordinary space, supernatural space, would I say, because they're doing extraordinary things that are uncommon, right? So it's like, that's not common, right? To be able to do so much with so little. And really it's the thinking between our ears and our heart that, helps us, right? So I'm not fixated on wealth. I'm fixated on wealth of health, wealth, love, and happiness in every area of my life. I want to be prosperous in health, prosperous in my relationship with my family and those that I care about, and then to be happy, things that we do for fun, right? And being intentional about what does that look like, right? Setting goals, as my friend Kathy was admonishing me, like, Andy, make it a goal. What's the goal of it all? So getting to the more tangible benefits of the activity, right? So I don't want to be an activity driven person. I don't think anybody wants, but what is the activity that I'm doing contributing to that someday that I'm working for? The one thing, right? So the one thing I'm working on, how you do anything is how you do everything. So the one thing I'm doing like this right now, I want it to be the best as possible. So even though this is the 7th edition, I keep making adjustments and improving it. The lighting, the sound, the set decoration, that's my office, but I want it to be my office because I don't know, it's a good little backdrop. I got my degrees in the background. I got the different hats that I wear, the chicken hat, which is the ideas hatched here, mission statement, all those things that are kind of my brand, right? What I'm known for. Now, in the future, we may have different sets for different productions, right? Because out of the flow of marketing, we're going to be able to help people set up their podcasts, set up their websites, set up their productions, their books, get their books published, have events that we can travel to. So like having people at my home this week, I actually want this house to be a resource. My wife and I don't have to live here 3 months out of the year, right? I can work anywhere in the world basically at that point. And so we're making inroads into like, what does that look like? So my wife actually booked us a vacation rental in Florida in May, and we're congregating our whole family to come down there. So interestingly, when you involve the family, it's kind of a shared cost opportunity. We're paying for the vacation rental. And some people, when they're paying for groceries or whatever. So everybody's taking a bite of the apple, but combined, it's going to be an awesome experience for our family. And we've done this before. Last year, I think we rented a multi-million-dollar house here in Houston, and it had a heated swimming pool and a theater room. And it was just really a time of refreshment, right? And so as I'm looking at the future, and I'm going to share with you my vision board update, I want to create these environments where we do these getaways, right, with our core people, or when we're gone from our home, it's beautified in such a way. I'm talking about, a significant investment in the furnishings, the flooring, the walls, the security, the backup electricity, swimming pools, a swimming pool, I should say, winding walk areas, fire pits, all that kind of stuff. So again, mindset, thinking of what's possible, right? And I don't need to know how to do it right now. The Lord's showing me how, right? How to do things, right? Because it seems impossible. But thankfully, with a sober mind, with a bright mind, with as you start to increase your knowledge base, then you start to see how things are possible. So, with that being said, this is a book that I've had on my bookshelf. I think I referenced this in one of my last videos. E-Myth by Michael Gerber. He's alive. He's 85 years old. Lives here, I think, in the Houston area. But this is a book I should have read 18 years ago. And so, as I'm kind of sharing this epiphany with my circle, one of my friends like, can you show me a picture of that book? And but I'm going to read this book again because it does talk about setting up your systems for your business, right? So one of the key areas that I'm working on with my friend Mike Martin, you go to his website. In fact, let's go ahead and share screen there because he is one of my inner circle guys that we definitely want to connect with, and we're doing some stuff with him. Yeah, so let's go to. I did a little website for him called Mike Martin Sells. we got 5 minutes, so I'm going to blow through the last 5 minutes here. Excuse me, I think there might be some pollen or something in the air because I'm kind of sniffling. So I did this website for him. Mike Martin sells RMC marketing, veteran-owned business. So Mike Martin, his phone number. So as you're looking at your website, if you have one for your business, you know a lot of these companies hide their phone number. So put your phone number at the top, you know, where people can call you. They can call or text. We don't have a video for Mike yet, but we're going to work on a promotional video. So that way it becomes like a sales agent 24/7, not a promotional, but how can my consulting or how can his consulting serve you well? And so you want to capture data like people's names and numbers and stuff like that. So we're going to put a lead magnet here, maybe a book, a primer, a resource that he has that, you know, someone would be willing to give their content in exchange. And so as I'm reviewing this, I'm thinking of different tweaks here. I've got to like put cell number here so people know what to put there. I designed this ad for him. Someone took this awesome photo. I said, with experience comes wisdom, Mike Martin. So it's old school meets new school, right? So we got to link the old school with the new school, the millennials, Gen Zers, because these elders, I call them elders, gray hairs, right? They have experience that can advance you, right? And so he is a veteran, practical experience. He worked for, I think, I think he was a Xerox I think it was a copy company. I forget now, IBM, maybe it was IBM, but anyway, he worked for a big company and it was selling big deals. And so as he's helping me to do better at selling, because it is sales and marketing, they are totally different, right? So in business, you have to have 5 different systems. There's sales, there's marketing, there's operations, there's administration, and there's leadership. And all those systems have to work together. So sales is really critical. So Mike has been advising me, and we've been putting together models to help bring sales to the table, because we can make phone calls for people, right, and help them to get customers. Well, guess what? It makes it easier for the marketing. So I do have a quote here. So I'm very thankful to have Mike in my circle of influence. My specialty is in strategic marketing. Mike's advice has helped me to also be better at selling, right? And so we've got some other quotes here. He's a member of the chamber, and he's also veteran certified business through the Texas Veterans Commission. And he is representing my brand. So as I'm teaching him how to represent me, he's teaching me how to represent him, and we're learning together as well. So a great resource. But Mike is, you'll hear me quote from him. We're coming up with his Mikeism. So I got a list of Mike's, and we're going to put that on the website, and maybe that'll be the lead magnet. For a list of 20 of Mike's most common recommendations, in a simple bullet format, contact us or whatever. So he's a good guy. I love his, he's 76 years old, and he's out there networking. He's out there connecting. So I want a guy like that in my circle, right? He's battle tested. He's courageous, all those good things, right? Now, this book we did at our Saturday Change Me, Saturday Change Me, You Inc. So there's something that you can monetize, right? You can actually take it and create a training. It doesn't have to be long. It's simple, like welcome, 3 things that you're going to teach, a bonus, and then downloads, right? Once you package that, then you can put it on some websites and monetize it. $99, get this, right? And you'd be surprised, right? So this book, we watched the video training on it, and so I'm working on one program as my test model on how to do ringtones and jingles, right? So the resources are available that drive down the cost of that. To get a ringtone done, it can run you $3,000, $5,000, $10,000, $50,000, right? Well, you can do them yourself, but there's some best practices that maybe will help you with the learning curve, or getting a prototype that you can then share with an expert, and that'll help you drive down costs. Because a lot of time the creativity part is the most expensive part, because you don't know what you want. It's never been done before, and then communicating that to a music artist is a challenge, right? So I'm going to be working on modules. It's probably going to take me like 5 hours to do, 10 hours to do max. And I have a couple of examples, but then I'm going to load it on Udemy, right? And others, Kabari, I think this company he started, I'm not saying it correctly, but I'll have to look at it later. In fact, let me take it now. How you do anything is how you do everything, right? He's the founder of Kajabi, and he's helped generate over 600 million in sales for his clients, right? So you want to listen to people like this, right? It's like, hey, I can learn from him, right? Never met the guy, but through his book, I can meet him, right? The other one I'm reading right now is Howard Partridge's book. As part of his programs, he sent me like 5 books. So this is 14 fastest ways to cash in any business. So these are all best practices that can be implemented like now to help you generate revenue, like referral models, right? So he does a lot of great content on setting up referral models, right? And increasing referrals, right? I went to a book signing last night with Stan Goss's new book, Tears of Joy, Tears of Sorrow. And so he's an elder gentleman, 85 years old. He's still out there. He's consulted with some of the greats, and I had him sign my book. And when I meet these authors, I like for them to use my tagline. So I said, Stan, make sure you put stay on mission, because that's my reminder to stay on mission. So love you, Stan. Stan's awesome. We're going to get together. He has taken an interest in what I'm doing. And I always appreciate, when someone values what I'm doing, especially a gentleman like that, and he's willing to give me an endorsement. Oh, I didn't want to share my website with you. I'm reading this book. My friend also recommended How to Own Your Mind. So this has been a real good practical guide and reinforcement to some of the things we're working on. Napoleon Hill wrote it. So anything by Napoleon Hill, man, I'm going to go out and buy all of his books. And that's also another thing. I'm in a habit. If someone recommends a book to me, and this was part of my training with Ty Lopez, I think, is go ahead and buy it or put it on the list, right? But I've been programming myself that I'm taking discretionary income, a portion, and investing it in trainings, right? Nothing wrong with that, right? My wife was like, well, you're smart, you read, and you already learned that. I said, well, you pay for these trainings because people hire me for advice, right? And so I don't have a problem paying for the training, because especially if it can shortcut, I use that word shortcut. There's no shortcut, but you can save time because you've already learned from the mistakes or the best practices of others. And then I'm rereading this book this year called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And so my friend Jonathan Gwynn, actually, he's one of my guys I'm encouraging to get up at 3 o'clock, 2:30. He's like, man, I need my sleep. I said, well, I haven't had an opportunity to kind of frame it correctly, but again, he is such a high capacity, high performing guy, and of course he has a work ethic like very few people I know, but it may or may not work for him. That's okay. But as a dutiful friend and ally, and knowing that we're kind of like-minded, it's kind of my duty to at least explore, to at least challenge, right? And say, well, this may or may not be for you, but it might. And so he did commit to coming to one of our Saturdays, our change meeting, because my buddy Oscar, I asked Jonathan, he says he'll never do that, or he won't do that. I'm not disclosing any what do you call it? I will say bad light on anybody. I'm trying to be like sharing, like we have fun with each other. I said, well, let me talk to Jonathan. So the thing is about leadership is influence, right? So you can leverage influence with each other based on, like I know Jonathan maybe better, so I have a lot more influence with him. And same thing with him. He's got a lot more influence with me. And he's also in the same mindset of we are servant leaders, right? So we have grace and mercy to work with each other and understand, like, Andy wouldn't steer me wrong. I wouldn't intentionally steer Jonathan wrong, right? And so thankfully, we're building a community where we have that grace and mercy. And it's, iron sharpens iron, right? So you think about it, iron is a hard substance, but there's different grades of iron, right? So you have to be mindful that how you're sharpening each other is, are you the same grade, right? Because you may not be the same grade. Sometimes you may need to be the iron that sharpens the iron, or, and you're at a different level, right? So you want to be a softer metal, a more stringent metal. We mentioned, I think, cast iron, it's strong, but it'll break. It's brittle. Where you have Damascus steel, a lot stronger and a little bit more force, but the edge is going to keep, and it's not going to break per se. I mean, there is a breaking point with Damascus steel, but it's not as easy as cast iron. And then you've got the fencing iron, right? It's a sharp point. It's not designed to be completely sharp, but that tip needs to be really sharp, right? So just elements like that. So again, apologies, Jonathan, if I outed anything I shouldn't have, but my heart, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this session. I did get a chance to go over awesome resources, hopefully, that will benefit you. And again, you can tune in live with me. So that the Zoom link allows me to admit people into the circle, into the conversation. And I pray you have a great week. And I encourage you to go back to the past modules if you can listen to them while you're at work or while you're doing stuff around the house, as we talked about. And hopefully it has value. And again, your input's important to me. And so I want to read your comments, and then I may talk about them on the air with your permission, and share with this group that we're building, because it's still a new concept. This is episode 7. So, and I have the mindset consistency, right? Continue every Friday. I'm going to do, I think I looked on Zooms, like 53 more episodes. I'm sorry, for the rest of the year. I think I got 50 episodes or something to go. And, but that's a lot of work over time, right? And so hopefully there's going to be some success stories that we share this year live, right? So we're doing this live when we're just talking about this stuff, and hopefully as we continue down this journey, you'll see this stuff manifested. You're like, wow, I remember when Andy talked about that, right? Because I know, like, we're going to go to Florida in May, right? So I'll be able to do a live from there in Florida, and looking forward to that, and to kind of share with you the experience. So right now, for example, we're doing research. I'm like, okay, where are the hot spots? What's nearby? So being intentional, it's like, well, we're investing this time away. Let's maximize the investment. Maybe there may be some connection I make in business there. I mean, walk around, meet some people, get some business cards, right? So I just gave you an idea. Now that may become a tax write-off, right? So I'll talk to Paul Kurt about that. But thank you for watching, and you have a great weekend. God bless.
My name is Andy Valdez, founder of Marketing Dynamics. The late Peter Drucker, the father of management theory, believed marketing was critical to your business. He said the purpose of a business is to create a customer through marketing and innovation. Strategic marketing equals immediate success. We offer you speed to market without the speeding tickets. Work smarter, harder, faster. Marketing Dynamics, because the market never stays the same. Please visit teammarketingdynamics.com.